What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here, along with my good pal Dakota, aka Sports Cards Anonymous. We are going to chat about the Dallas Card Show today. He was there on Saturday. Is that right?
Friday, Saturday, yeah.
Oh, you were there Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So obviously I was not able to attend. So my good pal Dakota, who was semi-local, was there for 2 days. So we're going to talk to him, get the vibe, see what the feel in the room was like, and what hot takes he has to drop on us like he likes to do. So I guess we'll just kind of start with that. So you were there Friday and Saturday. What was crowd like? And correct me if I'm wrong, you were there not in the spring, but you were there in January for like comparison purposes.
Yeah, I was there in January this year, and I was also there in May of last year. And in May of last year, 2020, that was the first show post-COVID occurring. And that's honestly, that's why Dallas became so big. I'm from Texas, and like I know the shows in Texas, and Dallas was never like this huge show, but that's why it blew up, because it was the only one that, for 6 months, it was the only show in town in the States, and they kept going every 2 months. So that's why it blew up. But anyway, we'll probably talk about that in a second. But January was really crowded, and then March was even. Though I didn't go in March, I know March was more crowded, which is hard to believe. And then going into it this time, July 2021, it was definitely less crowded than January, but it was still really busy. Friday was really slow. It was nice. You could go table to table, do your thing. But Saturday was pretty crowded. But it was the right amount of crowded. So there's a couple things that kind of fed into that. In January, they only had the main hall and then a few rooms out in front. So they had all that again this time, but now they have a second hall that they've opened up. And so it's put it so that not everyone is in that main hall, main room the entire time. So, that kind of alleviated some of the issue. But like in January, it was too crowded. You couldn't move. You go to a dealer's table and you'd have 6 people trying to talk to a dealer. It's like going to a crowded bar, where you're trying to get a drink and the bartender's being a real a-hole, like that. But so I felt like it was the right amount of people. It was nice. And then other than that, just being the amount of people there, dealers were willing to move. I negotiated, I had my pickup video. They were, what I saw compared to the last 2 times I went, dealers had their stuff marked. They had it marked at reasonable comps for the most part. 80% of dealers were that way, and they were willing to negotiate. Like they were fair and reasonable. And so I liked that. And so that's why I bought a lot, because, it was good deals.
Yeah, I had heard Thursday and Friday were slow. That seemed to be the general vibe from Twitter and IG, that Thursday and Friday were a lot slower. But then that Saturday and Sunday definitely picked up quite a bit, which I guess we should have led with this. It kind of makes sense. Like a lot of people are coming out and being like, oh, the hobby's down or whatever. Look at Dallas. Look at, this, that, and the other thing. And it's kind of like, well, okay, you have Dallas, large regional show. Atlanta, the same weekend, brand new, large, regional, heavily promoted regional show, and the Nationals in 2 weeks. I don't know. Were you expecting to walk into Dallas and it be wall to wall? I have to imagine that you had proper expectations in your head.
Yeah, I expected it to be less. Honestly, it was more populated than I expected. I expected it to be less, and I talked about it in my rant on Sunday a little bit, just if you want to see the full blown take on it, because I got a little heated about it. But, Atlanta, like you said, is fully, marketed, not fully, but, heavily marketed. And then also it was a comic book show. So there's this little bit of, it's a little bit different, So I think a lot of people went there to go check it out. And then, the biggest thing is the Nationals 2 weeks away. And a lot of, just frankly, a lot of people can't afford or don't want to go to a major show in the middle of the country and then 2 weeks later go to another major show in the middle of the country, right? And I'm sure, unlike Dallas, a lot of people for the National might almost have a full week planned. And that's why you see Saturday and Sunday are a little bit busier, in my opinion. From what I've seen from these shows, there's a lot of folks coming from California. And so it makes sense. They don't want to take Thursday and Friday off, because in 2 weeks, they're about to take 4 or 5 days off. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I know. Just speaking for myself personally, I really wanted to go to the Atlanta show just because it was kind of the new thing. And it sounds like I talked to Sam from Women of the Hobby on IG. She's going to come on the show tomorrow night for a guest video to talk about Atlanta. She said the comic book stuff was pretty low key. Actually, it didn't end up being as much as kind of what was advertised. And it sounded like there was some sneakers too, but they were definitely trying to market that as a broader than just sports card show. And I could see a lot of people, even if you were like, hey, I do want to go to a show. If you've been to Dallas 2 or 3 times already, you might very well be like, okay, well, let me go check out the new kid on the block and see what they're bringing. Plus, if you're coming from East Coast, Atlanta is so easy to get in and out of because they're an airplane hub for everyone under the sun. That was part of the appeal to me. I could have flown there pretty cheap, but it was exactly what you just said. Do I really want to? Even if I'm not spending like a ton, I'm still spending 100 and some bucks on a flight, a hotel, even if it's just for a night or two. Dinner. The wife probably would have came with me. Like, do I really want to spend $500 or $600 2 weeks before the national?
Exactly.
When that could be money that I could spend at the national, or at least have in the ammo clip to fire. So I talked to Ryan from Breakout Cards, and I may try to have him on the show as well later in the week, who was actually at both. And he had an interesting comment, and I cannot remember if it was about one show in particular or just in general. But he said that it almost seems like there's 2 shows now. There's the show, 2 shows within a show, essentially. There's the one where the dealers are priced like you just discussed, that are looking to move. And then there's the one where the dealers are still trying to sell off of spring comps.
Oh, yes. So that's 80%, right? So 80%, which is nice because in January, it was literally maybe 40% in January. Everyone was selling through they didn't have anything marked and they were asking 2X comps. And don't forget, I went to the Houston a month and a half, 2 months ago, and it was still like that. And so it was much better at this show, and I really appreciated that. And for people who don't know, the Houston is actually a big show. It just doesn't have all the appeal these other shows are getting. But that other 20% was very much that way. You certainly had the 4 or 5 big tables that had nothing but $10,000, $11,000 plus cards, and it's just I don't know. I feel like no one's buying at those tables. They're just there kind of showing off what they have. And they're like, look at me. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk bad about anyone, but
if that's your thing, that's what you want to do. Cool. It's your time, it's your money, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. You're paying for the table. So I don't care. But there's definitely still that. And that's that other 20. Well, I would say that's 15% of the other 20, and the last 5%. And people who've been in the hobby for a minute know what I'm talking about. It's the old heads selling vintage who have nothing marked and want to sell everything 3X comps because I don't know why, but that's what they try to do. So,
So as someone, because you cannot go to the national for multiple different reasons, even though I keep giving you crap about it every time we talk.
Well, mostly just my wife's really pregnant. That's it.
I know that a very good reason why. So did you feel going in? To me, if I was you walking in, I feel like you'd have a leg up because you're like, I don't care about the national in 2 weeks. I got my national cash with me today, and I am looking to spend. So did you feel like the ultimate phrase of cash is king, or did you bring trade stuff with you at all, or were you just cash in hand looking to make moves?
I had about $800, $900 in cash. I was like, okay, let's do this. And then, so I kind of talked about it in a video a little while ago. I talked about when you go to these shows, it's nice to pick up the big cards, but the problem is so many people don't want to, play around comps that it just makes it where I'm like, I'd just rather spend my time in the value bins. And so I did a lot of that, but this show was a little bit different to the previous ones where people were willing to move. And so I was mostly cash. I actually only brought 6 cards for trade, and I didn't even want to ask people. I only brought them kind of just in case something really caught my eye and I wanted to make a move. I was trying to sell a BGS 9.5 Prism, Topps Chrome Prism Refractor Vlad rookie. It didn't have subgrades. There's 2 comps around $700. I was asking $450 because I don't have subs. I couldn't get anyone to bite on that. And then I had some Baker Mayfield stuff that people were interested in, but they didn't want to go anywhere near comps. So the trading didn't really do anything for me, but I feel like I got some really good deals on cash. And yeah, that's really it. I good deals on cash with bundles, right? So I would try to bundle stuff, and then I felt like I got really good deals. I had one. I bought a Justin Herbert Mosaic. Actually, I can show you right here. I don't know. This isn't going to show well, but I bought this Justin Herbert Mosaic. I bought this Mosaic variation Zion, and I bought this Mosaic 9 Jaw. I bought it for the price of those 2 cards, so I got that one for free. And it's just bundling and cash. People were pretty good on moving stuff.
That's good to hear. Yeah. I saw your pickups video. You were like king of Mosaic now.
I I am. I don't know what happened. I will do a video on this week. I don't know what happened, but I really like Mosaic now. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So
I mean, you talked about it in your video. The Mosaic parallels do look pretty good. Base Mosaic is a little
it's
whatever.
base. They make it
Yeah.
base, and then when they on the variations, they all that boring silver they fill in with color, and it just makes the card really pop. So
yeah, I have a. I don't want to derail this, but I don't even know if it's sitting here.
are we even?
Yeah,
on
like
the
I really
road?
like this card. Like this is a second year Luca, but I don't know that I would ever let this go as a big Luca guy. Like it just looks
That's a beautiful card. Yeah.
so nice. There it is, autofocused finally. And I pack pulled this. I sent it in, graded it for like $40 or $30 back when
Nice.
you could actually grade cheaply. But like I love the way this card looks. And I know second year Luca, I know it's not gonna have a ton of value, but it looks awesome, like on the desk or whatever.
Yeah. Who knew people in the hobby actually collect cards? It's crazy.
What? No, we're just evil investors, evil flippers.
That's it.
We're gonna burn it all to the ground.
Yep.
Get our money and burn it to the ground and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, no, crypto or NFTs or whatever's next.
Yeah, comic books. I'll bring you over to the comic book world. This would be great. So do you like having seen Dallas now and just a general vibe? And it, we were talking pre-stream. It does seem like, at least in my opinion, for now, and I think you might feel the same. It feels like we might be hitting the bottom, or we're just kind of floating at the bottom. Maybe there's another bottom coming post-national. I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. It's easy to sit there and declare one way or the other. But for the time being, anyways, it feels like the downward trend has stalled anyway.
I'm going to give a shout out, and I apologize if you care, but C&T Collectibles is a great channel, less than 100 subscribers. Everyone go check him out, C&T Collectibles. I've learned so much watching his channel since I started my channel. He reached out, he watched mine, and he's like, hey, go check out my stuff. You might like it. And he was right. I do. He talks a lot about graphs and statistics in baseball. That's probably why he doesn't get as much love as he deserves. But he looks at a lot of these graphs on Card Ladder, and he kind of, I guess it's what he does as a profession. He kind of talks about trends and where things are going. And when I look at basically any graph, especially any graph of like, your stalwart cards, the Prism base Luca 10 rookie, the, PSA 9 or PSA 10 Mahomes rookie or his optic, whatever, these big cards in the hobby that you would kind of look at to say, okay, however they go, the hobby goes, they've kind of been flat for like a month. And from watching his channel and just kind of gathering what happens, when cards are flat or when a market is flat, one of two things happen. It's either going to shoot up or it's going to fall down, one or the other. And I do feel that the momentum is in the up here. I feel like we've come down, we've bottomed, we've been bottomed for a little while. I think a lot of cards are going towards their bottom. Those big cards, the Luca, the Mahomes, they kind of lead the charge. They get to the bottom and then everything else follows suit. I think everything's kind of there and we're going to start to see a bounce up. I may be completely wrong. I know that there's a lot of anxiety, anticipation with the national. And if that goes poorly, the market will fall. There's no question. But if it goes well, I think the market could come up. And I think that's where it's going. But, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, it does feel like the market's kind of, I don't want to say, I guess holding its breath is the best case for the national. I don't know if maybe, I don't know, do you feel, especially someone that's not going, do you feel like there's too much importance put on the national? Like, is this major, like, yeah, it's obviously a major event, but do you feel like it should pivot the entire market one way or the other? Like, do you feel it should be that important? Or maybe it's not even that important. We're just kind of overhyping it.
Yeah, so one, I don't think it should be that important. And two, I don't think it is that important. I just think so many people in the hobby are going and they're anticipating a lot of movement one way or the other. And so they're saving a lot of stuff that maybe they would be listing on eBay or maybe they would be buying on eBay. They're saving those transactions for the national, hoping that they can get some sweetheart deals, in person, cash money and trades. In my opinion, that's what I think. I think it's slowing down transactions as people get ready for the national.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see like kind of how the national goes day by day. Like I feel like Thursday and Friday people are going to be sticking to maybe slightly above comps or whatever. And then I think at some point in time, there's probably, if cash is not flowing as the show moves on, I wonder if it becomes more of like, okay, cool. Like, yep, we're 90% of comps now on Saturday afternoon, or as the show moves throughout, depending on how Thursday and Friday set the tone. Like I feel like that Thursday is going to be a big tone setter as the first full day. Like if people are in there just throwing cash around like crazy, then I think dealers are going to be a little bit more firm to like, no, we're 100% of comps or slightly above.
Mm-hmm.
But if it looks like stuff's not moving, is it all of a sudden like a race to the bottom inside the room of like, okay, I do want to move some stuff because this is an expensive setup. So like, I don't want to say fire sale, but you know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, let's start getting a little bit more aggressive as the hours tick by.
Yeah, I mean, the National is going to be the busiest show. I mean, I predicted this like 3 months ago. I predicted this, that this National will be the busiest card show we've ever seen and will ever see. I don't think it'll be this crazy again. It will be crazy. There will be people, but how many deals are going around? It could be a little bit slower than people anticipate. In my experience, people tend to move cards better on Sundays anyway. They're willing to wheel and deal a little bit more. And certainly if it's slow Thursday through Saturday afternoon, people are going to be moving cards. I even had this Ja Morant, which I bundled with another card, but I told the guy, I gave him an offer and he's like, that's a Sunday price. It was Saturday morning. I'm not selling it for that. He ended up letting it go. But I mean, dealers are well aware, what day it is. They don't want to take that stuff home. It's work to take this stuff home, and they much rather just move off of it. And if it's slow, I think because the National is Thursday through Sunday, right? That's right. Thursday.
It technically starts Wednesday night. I think there's like a preview night / dealer night, but the first full day is Thursday.
I think if stuff's slow through Friday, I think you're going to start seeing those deals on Saturday because people know, time's running out and people are going home. And, people who are smart, if they're wanting to move off of stuff, they're going to start doing it Saturday morning.
Yeah, I think it depends on what the stuff is. I think like, Mahomes stuff, I don't think you're going to get a discount on. Luka stuff, I don't think you're going to get a discount on. LeBron, like stuff like that. But like more mid-tier, not super high-end, low pop stuff, I think they'll be looking to liquidate to a certain degree. And once again, it depends on how does the show go. I really think those first couple of days are going to set an interesting tone. And then there's almost like the second show with the trade nights and all that stuff too. I don't know. Did you do any of that stuff in Dallas? Like, did you hit like, I don't know, is there like a Saturday or a Friday night trade night or anything? Or I know like every hotel lobby is kind of like a trade night basically.
Yeah, they do a Thursday night trade night, and I didn't go because I came up Friday morning, and I'm sure a lot of people trade Friday night too. But me and my buddy, we like to go get dinner, have a few beers, and just go to sleep. I guess like I don't know. We don't stay in that hotel. We stay in a hotel across the highway, so
gotcha.
It's not convenient.
Gotcha. So we were kind of talking about health of the market bouncing back, how things have hit the bottom, and I do agree with you. It seems like things are starting to turn. Like, whether it's Gary V influenced or not, the LeBron Topps Chrome has spiked back up again, not like to astronomical levels, but to me, it almost seems like it makes more sense now. Yeah, it got pumped by him, sure, but it didn't go crazy. To me, it went about where I would expect that card to kind of bounce back up to after it went down for a month straight when they got eliminated. And you're starting to see like, the BGS 9.5 followed it a little bit slower and the PSA 9 followed it a little bit slower. And now you're seeing the other grades lift up with it. But I feel like if the same thing happened 1 year ago today, that card would have like 3x'd instead of like 1.5x, if that makes sense. Like the market just seems more
smart,
responsible, I guess. Yeah, smart, whatever term you want to put on it.
Yeah, something I've been talking about for a little while. I mean, I don't even mean on my channel, just almost like an internal discussion. Like, I've said a few times, the market is getting and will continue to get smarter. So does that mean at some point we get to the point where we're so smart, prices are just stagnant, right? They're not up and down. Obviously, that's an extreme and that's not going to happen. But I just mean over time, does the market become less volatile and more steady? And it's been interesting. I guess I've had that thought for about 6-7 months now. And now I see that, like, I think so far it's made it more volatile where instead of 2 cycles every year, we might see 6 cycles every year, which is interesting. I mean, that's better. I think that's awesome. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right. I'm going to send us on a tangent now because you brought up an interesting point there. So I almost think cycles are gone. Like, don't even think about cycles anymore. When you get into a card, and it gets to a price point that you want to move it at, just move it. Don't wait for the cycle, because I don't think we know anymore what the cycles are. Like, us as content creators can sit behind the camera or the microphone and look at stuff and make some educated guesses. but I think it's all out the window now, like really cycle wise. Like look at the football cycle spiked in spring because everyone was saying buy football, and now no one football. Everyone seems unsure of what it's going to do because everyone's been saying the time to sell football is summer, which used to be the case, but now it's all flip flopped. So I don't know. I just feel like if you get into the card at a good price and it goes up and you can make a profit on it, just move it and don't worry about trying to time some cycle that may or may not even be coming. Because, like what you said, the market's way smarter now, way more intelligent to some degree. You still see some stuff like
Yeah.
Pete Alonso wins the home run derby and his cards go crazy because he won a batting practice contest. So you're still going to have some stuff like that. Terrence Mann prices went crazy because he had one good game for the Clippers in the playoffs. So there's still going to be some of that, but in general, I feel like it's a lot smarter. So don't rely on a cycle coming around anymore. That's my kind of general take on it.
Yeah, when I say cycle, I mean when we had the 2, we definitely knew or thought we knew when they were. But now when I say like 6, it's just a one I throw out there. A cycle to me is prices go up and then they go down and then go back up, or the reverse, right? But there's some sort of like U shape or reverse U shape in the values, and you just want to make sure you're buying at the bottom of those U's and selling at the top, and that's it. And I've talked about it a few times. Like when I buy a card, I have an idea when I would like to sell it, but more importantly, I know at what price I would sell it. And when that price comes around, I'm gone. If it comes 3 months early, so be it. But I know that I want to move off that and make some profit. So
yeah, and I even play a little faster and looser than that. Like I definitely never assign a time frame for a card because it's a foolish errand to try to predict when this stuff's gonna. You never know what's gonna happen to cause something to spike. One person tweets the right thing, and then all of a sudden the card 2x's or whatever, and you can't predict that.
Yep.
I don't even try to set a price point in mind anymore. It's just all gut and feel. Like if it's because you still got to weigh it. Like if your price point's 2x, but it's gone up 1.5, but you're reading the general room and saying like, you know what, I don't think this card's ever going to get to 2x. Let me just pull the ripcord now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's
I get what you're doing though. It makes sense.
No, it's a good point. I don't mean to say it's a hard rule. Like I only sell this. No, I'm willing to move off of stuff. There's no question. And I'm also willing to hold stuff. I didn't hold Shohei, but say, you were holding Shohei into the season and he's just going bananas and you really think the world of him, then hold him, okay, that's what you think, then hold him. I'm of the opinion prices will always go back down. I mean, Shohei's already going down right now as we, speak. So, but yeah, it's not hard rules. It's just like guidelines that I kind of keep in my mind. So I keep myself honest.
Yeah, Otani's definitely starting to dip. Like a player, regardless of how hot the player is, that can only sustain itself for so long.
Yep.
And he was ridiculously hot. And then actually, to tell you the truth, I think the worst thing that happened to his prices was the All-Star break. He basically didn't play for a week. And maybe if he would have won the home run derby, as silly as it sounds, it would have gave him another lift. And he lost in the first round, but he still put on a hell of a show once he kind of caught on there. But I feel like the All-Star break destroyed his prices, or not destroyed, but like really halted his upward gain. And right after the All-Star break, his stuff immediately started slipping back down again.
Yeah, and I don't mean to keep plugging my channel. I talked about it a little bit into my video. I had 2 videos today actually where I talk about like who's going up and who's going down. I was surprised to see Shohei going down, and I think it's just because there's a lot of anticipation built up for the All-Star break. We got through it, and now you look ahead and you're looking at the playoffs, and you're not looking at Shohei, and because he's not going to be there. So I think there's some of that, and like he can be amazing and all this and all that, but at the end of the day, September 15th, we're not, or like whenever playoffs start, we're not talking about Shohei. We're talking about the Astros and the Athletics and the Red Sox and whoever else makes the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think the Otani rise, I talked about it in a few videos, really caused some buying opportunities on the other guys.
Yeah.
Because the baseball pool of money was all going to him. And the Tatises, the Sotos, the Vlads, prior to Acuna tearing his knee, the Acuna stuff was kind of just, sitting there and to slightly going down. And there was deals to be had on that stuff. I feel like, like I obviously bought a bunch of Vlad. I recently just picked up a Tatis refractor that I don't have yet. I just bought it yesterday for what I thought was a really good price. So So I think there was a lot of I thought the Otani market caused a lot of buying opportunities on the flip side with the other players.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you've mentioned that. I saw you say that on your channel, and I agree with that 100%. I think that's why Vlad stayed so low. And then now we've seen a sudden surge in his price. But also, going back to the market being smarter and things happening. I mean, Acuna's already on the way up. He's not going to play for a year. And his cards are already on the way up because people realize you want to buy when they get injured because prices go down when they get injured. And prices did go down. And they're already up from their bottoms. And that's just, I think, proof positive that the market is smarter and is reacting faster. So,
yeah, I snagged one Acuna PSA 9 refractor for like 125 over the weekend.
It's a bargain.
And I don't know if that's the bottom or not, but it was close enough to the bottom for me. And the nice thing about something like that is I'm only into it for $125. So it's not like I'm tying up a bunch of money for a year to see returns on it. Like it was a low risk entry point. It'll be an easy move, in 6, 8, 9 months, a year. Maybe I even move it sooner. If it gets up to 200 or something, I could just exit out. I don't have to hold it for the whole 2 years. And, I made the point with when Dak Prescott got injured. I know that wasn't an ACL. It was a busted ankle, but he was out for the entire season. His prices dipped for about a week and then essentially flatlined and then slowly ticked up ever since. And I think you're right. I think the initial price jump or drop is almost when you need to jump on these guys. Because then after that, like everyone's trying to outsmart each other and be like, yeah, I'm going to buy the Acuna dip. And the dip never happens. Maybe there's like a post-hype dip, you know what I mean? Like maybe 2 months from now, people are forgotten about buying them on the dip or whatever, and then it dips back down a little bit more. I don't know. Who knows? But
well, I mean, it's just continue that thought. If we talk about what used to be the normal cycles, you bought when the playoffs ended and you bought kind of right after the season started. That's when prices generally go down. Also, for an injured player, you buy when they get injured. Look at football. Football is the proof. Football is the proof that the cycle is moving faster. Right after the Super Bowl, prices were super low. Within 3 weeks, they were higher than they are today. I mean, they went through the roof because everyone's like, oh, it's post the Super Bowl. It's post the playoffs. I need to be buying these cards so that I can sell in August. And that's, to our points that we talked about, these cycles are happening faster because, to your point, everyone's trying to outsmart each other. And that's what's creating these additional cycles. And so just make sure you're buying low, selling high.
Yeah, you're seeing it too, to stick on baseball. Like Lou Bob and Eloy stuff started going up earlier than what I thought that it would. There's been no new, like Eloy, there was one little news blurb about him coming back, and then he hit a home run in his first rehab game, and his stuff really started moving then. And then because his stuff moved, I think Lou Bob's moved.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, well, Eloy was hurt. He's coming back. Like, oh, let me look at, Lou Bob's stuff's real cheap too. Let me go snag some of that. I did the exact same thing. And then I think you also seen it with Wander getting all the hype when he got called up. And I noticed Jason Dominguez's prices shot up because his stuff had kind of lulled. People kind of forgot about him. And then everyone saw Wander stuff go nuts. And I think they were kind of like, well, shoot, when Dominguez gets the call up in however many years it's going to be, his stuff's going to spike. Let me go buy some of his stuff.
Yeah, you and I have both talked about it. And for anyone watching this who doesn't do baseball, you need to, because you can really prospect in baseball. And with these fast cycles, with these, heightened, hypersensitive cycles, people forget about prospects very quickly and their prices drop and you move in and buy them and then they go up. I was buying Jason Dominguez like a month or 2 months ago. Prices were super low. And, they're going up now. He's doing well. And A-ball, I think he just is finally getting started there. And I mean, I don't know, so it's just people forget about things very quickly and then they remember them very quickly. And that's, what we need to take advantage of if you're trying to make money in the hobby.
Yeah, like right now, it seems like everyone basically forgot about basketball. Like the China, Otani over here. You had Vlad, Tatis, this, that, and the other thing. You're starting to get football talk. Like Mahomes is getting buzzy. Baker, Josh Allen, Dak, Kyler, Herbert. We're about to get a bunch of Trevor Lawrence hype train. And it feels like, when's the last time you heard like Luka's name mentioned, or Ja, or Zion, or you got that RJ Barrett Green Mosaic. those types of guys, Jason Tatum, like those guys, you're not hearing anything about those guys at all. You're still hearing about Giannis and CP3 and Aiton and the guys that are still in the playoffs, but their stuff's super cheap. But you really have to pick off auctions because people at Best Offer Buy It Now are not budging down on comps. Like you have to very specifically target auctions to get the deals. It feels like.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I've been buying a lot of basketball, and yeah, I mean, like I'm buying it with the intent of selling in December. But if this stuff goes up in a month, then let me move it and then buy whatever's low at the time. For me, there's a trinity of sports that I'm looking at: football, baseball, and basketball. I'm trying to buy what's low and sell what's high, and I'm trying to take what I sell to buy what's low. And I just hope that kind of keeps going. So yeah, I don't have comics that kind of sit there in the background for me. Sorry, but that's my hustle right now, I guess.
Yeah. So kind of sticking on the market trend vibe, like obviously on Saturday night, the Jordan sold for a record-setting pricing. And I think it was kind of, you described it in the pre-show perfectly, I think, as a unicorn event. It was a PSA 1086 Jordan. It went for what, $840, I think. But it had the PWCC, I forget what they call it, but they basically,
I believe.
S tier. Okay.
Top 5% of all similar cards. That's what their designation is, I believe.
So they came in and they knighted it, whatever, and said that this is the best of the best. And to be fair, I looked at the card. It did look really nice. It looked very well centered. Without having it actually in hand, it's tough to tell. But at least on pictures, it definitely looked like a very, very nice Jordan. And a lot of people were like, basically wanted to lift that thing up on a parade and carry it down Main Street as like, aha, we're back, baby. And I don't, it's definitely a good sign. And you had mentioned another one had sold at another auction house the same day for like 340, 350. That to me seems more correct. I get that this one was bequeathed as being like the nicest Jordan or whatever. But even the 340 one was a nice increase over the last few comps of that card. Like they were in the mid twos, and now all of a sudden it's in the mid threes, and now you kind of have this outlier one. So it's nice to see that sale, but like personally, I feel better about the 340 sale, if that makes sense, than I do the 840 sale.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone touting the 840 sale as a sign that the market's alive is missing the real news. The real news is an average PSA 10 sold for 340, which is up nearly 50%, or actually more than 50% than sales of like 2 weeks ago, right? So, I mean, that's the big news. The 10 that sold for 840, PSA, they don't have a black label. They don't have subgrades. And so when you say all PSA 10s are the same, but when people, like me or whoever else say buy the card, not the grade, the guy who bought that Jordan, the person who bought that Jordan at 840 bought the card, not the grade. That card is better than the grade, which is hard for people to imagine because it's a PSA 10, but would that be a BGS 10? Would it be a BGS black label? I have no idea, obviously, but I mean, that's what happened. They bought what people in that market believe to be one of the nicest Jordan 86 Fleer copies available. It's more than just a PSA 10. It's better than that. But on the average PSA 10, they paid 50, even more. I mean, yeah, more than 50% above recent comps as of a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's funny how on stuff like that, and even like I've talked about it before, when I bought my LeBron Chrome, I was very cognizant of the card that was in the slab, like having good centering and stuff like that. But it does feel like there's a segment of cards, whether it's from $50 to, I guess, not even price range, because like a PSA 8 Chrome was only $2,000. It's not like that expensive in the grand scheme of things in cards, but it feels like a lot of cards are purchased, the slab is purchased, not the card. But then you get to certain cards, and all of a sudden the card matters more than the grade. Whether it's a Topps Chrome LeBron or an 86 Fleer, like the more iconic cards, suddenly the card matters more than the grade does. But if you're just looking at a PSA 10 Zion based Prism, how many people are actually looking at the card and they're just going, okay, cool, it's the red and white label, it says 10 in the corner, $500 or whatever they're going for these days.
I mean, yeah, people aren't. And I mean, it's hard, in these modern cards, there's not really a border. It's hard to see, most issues are kind of surface issues, and that's hard to see in a case. A lot of that is really hard to see. But on your more traditional high-end cards, some issues are easier to see than others. And I mean, there's a reason a BGS 10 still goes 2x, 2.5x a PSA 10. And it's because it's a true stamp that this is a truly, pristine card. And then a black label goes for who knows how many times a PSA 10. So, I mean, that's still there, but until PSA puts in subgrade, which they'll probably never do, until they put in a special label for perfect cards, which they'll probably never do, then anything at least ultra modern is always no one's going to buy the cards. They're going to buy the grade because there's not really that big of a difference between the card, and there's just so many of them. It's not really special to have a perfect one because there's so many.
Yeah, because there really isn't. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what is the iconic ultra modern card? I don't know if there is one right now.
Luka.
Like, at least, yeah, but what Luka though? You know what I mean? Like,
it's a Prism PSA 10.
Yeah, but are people? I don't think people are scrutinizing centering on a PSA 10 silver Prism Luka. You know what I mean?
No,
like
but
they would a Topps Chrome LeBron.
It's hard to do that when you have the Topps the Topps LeBron, Topps or Topps Chrome. You've got that clear border. The 2018 Prism, it's not obvious to the eye that it's off center. You've got
you have to look at the dots.
Lines going around. Yeah,
it is tricky, but
yeah.
19 is actually probably a little easier to tell centering on because you can count the dots on each side.
Yeah, in 19, to the eye, it would be obvious because on 18, you've got that silver border and then you just got kind of lines running around it and it's not really clear, where are they supposed to be? If you don't know where they're supposed to be, it's not obvious that they're off. But in 19, you've got that thin border on the bottom left and bottom right, and it's clear if that's off left or right.
I guess thinking about it, probably the iconic ultra modern card would be like a Luka Blue Prism. That would probably be the most expensive non-RPA that I can think of ultra modern. I'm probably missing something completely. But if you're literally talking ultra modern,
most expensive, sure.
Other than some 101 thing or something, but
I mean, I think the Mahomes Prism is also iconic, but is it the card? Probably not.
That's true. That's a good point. Like, do people? And I don't know because I've never looked at one. It's way out of my price range. Like, how heavily do people scrutinize 17 Prism Mahomes like in a PSA 10? They just get PSA 10 and grab it, or do they just? That's a pretty tough grade in a PSA 10. Period. Full stop to begin with. But
I can tell you, at least for the 9s. I mean, I was in the market for a 9 for a really long time. I looked at every 9 on eBay, and people should know this. 17 Prism has a horrible centering issue. Forget the dimple. I don't care about the dimple. I care about the centering. And if you're buying a 9, you need to check the center. And it's very obvious. It is very obvious if it's off center. But so don't just buy a 9 off center. Really do your homework. I mean, I probably looked at 40 or 50 9s, and out of those, I mean, maybe five, I was willing to put an offer in. I mean, the centering is awful.
Yeah, I've heard you say that multiple times before, and I have, since you've called it out, I've noticed that when I've looked at 17 Prism, it sticks in my mind now because you always talk about it. So, all right, we're post Dallas now. We're heading into the National. I said on Sunday's video, and I watched your Sunday video. I think I sent you the preach emoji in Discord after I watched it. A lot of hot takes about where the market's going to go. I'm of the mind, and I think we're probably similar minded here, that I think we're kind of heading to like the new wave market. Like, we're never going back to pre-COVID times. It's never going to be that high. Certain cards might get that high again because crazy stuff happens or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the market as a whole is never going to spike back up like that again. And I also don't think it's going to be the doom and gloom of, the charts and graphs going, like that, where it's blood red for 4 months straight. Are you kind of the same mind that, like, once we kind of get through this summer, that things are going to get a little bit more normalized? There's more. I think you mentioned it on your video today, maybe your market pullback one, or one of them. I forget which one it was. I watched 2 of your videos this morning where you were kind of talking about, and I kind of agree the same thing about, that there's way more people in the market now than there was last year. Even if we lost a bunch, there's way more people in the market now than there ever has been. And in general, that's going to be healthy for it. So I think now that we've kind of come through the slide, I feel like we're going to level off, and then things are going to get back to, I don't want to say normal, but things will start to make more sense again. Like we mentioned earlier with the LeBron Topps Chrome, it spiked, but it spiked reasonably, in my opinion. It didn't 5x in a night like it would have last year. Like, do you think we're kind of like back the new normal? I guess I will say, we're going to come out the other side as this new version of the hobby. It's not the old school way that it used to be, but it's not the peak pandemic times either.
I think certain events will cause cards to go up significantly quickly. We over the last year saw two peaks, February, but also August. In both of those, well, February, really December through February. In December, it was modern NBA. In February, it was vintage. And in both of those peaks, they were triggered by the start of the NBA season, as well as other things. In August, we had the start of the NFL season. It was as well as the restart of the MLB season. And in February, we had, kind of the beginning of MLB spring training and then the playoffs of football. I mean, so it makes a lot of sense to me why we were seeing spikes kind of in those two areas. So, I mean, I'll put my money where my mouth is, I guess. I'll let my actions speak louder than my words. I'm buying cards right now. I don't think that this thing's going to crash. I think we're at about, I do think in general, in my opinion, right? What do I know about anything? But in my opinion, we are close, if not at the bottom, and we will see a bounce back. I think a lot of this super modern NBA stuff, I think, is really good prices. I've been buying it. I've showed some stuff that I'm buying, and I'll have a mail day sometime next week too, with some bigger cards that I actually bought on eBay. But I'm pretty optimistic about the market in general, which is funny to me because 3 months ago, I kind of got a lot of flack for making a video where I was more bearish on the market than most people. And now the market's gone down, and I find myself more bullish than most people.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent more in the last 2 months on cards than I probably have for probably a year and a half combined, honestly. Now, part of that is that I've flipped my way into being able to buy bigger stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I've been constantly buying and selling over the last year and a half, kind of building up a bankroll, and then that's now allowed me to move into a little bit larger cards. And when you start flipping larger cards, and I'm not talking, I flipped the purple Vlad. I bought it for 1,000, sold it for 1,700. When you start moving into that stuff, there's higher risk, but there is also higher reward. So when you hit, you could sometimes hit bigger, but it could also be more dangerous. But that kind of propelled me into, like, before I was in the $500 to $1,000 level. Now I'm playing in the $1,000 to $2,000 level and downwards. And I've spent more on stuff the last 60 days than I have combined. Like I said, in the last year. Part of that's because I want to have stuff to take to the national, and part of it's because I just bought cards that I felt were undervalued, and they happen to be in that price range. So I agree with you. I think we are kind of at the bottom. Where it goes, like I said, we could both be wrong. We're just both idiots talking into a microphone. Like, post national, maybe it all crashes and burns, and then people will point at this video and say, "Look at these two dummies," or people could say, "Oh my God, they were right. It went way up." Or most honestly, it's probably going to be something in the middle. That's usually where this stuff ends up shaking out. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think this thing is going to skyrocket post national, but I do think, I talked to you in Discord and stuff like that, months ago, saying, are we going to see, kind of a dip in the summer in football? And we talked about that back and forth, and we saw a dip. And I do think post national, and I even 3 weeks ago, I thought maybe we'd see a dip post national in football, but I actually feel like we're going to start to see a rise in football. I feel like people are really hungry for football. I feel it. I'm just Googling on YouTube, NFL highlights 2020. Like, I'm ready for football. And that's what drives the market. We're in a hype-driven market. Hype's going to be high. And even though maybe investors are like, I probably shouldn't be buying that card, at the same time, most investors are collectors, and they're going to pay a little bit over for some cards that they just kind of want in their collection before the season starts.
Yeah, we'll kind of wrap up on this. I did, and I've talked about this video a bunch. I did that video at the end of last football season where it basically showed that essentially like two players went up one slot. Like if you go from week 1 to week 17 last year, like Josh Allen, and I forget who the other guy was. There was you went all the way to the playoffs to Mahomes, but if you didn't include the playoffs, Mahomes even went down.
Might have been Herbert. I don't remember.
It could have been Herbert. Either way. Josh Allen was definitely one of them. And the similar thing happened in the NBA where almost everybody went down except for Joker and Embiid, because Joker and Embiid did not see a run up right before the season started.
Yep.
Their prices basically went up like 10% in the lead up to the season. And then they played really well and their prices spiked way up. I'm wondering if this year is going to be opposite. So if we don't see prices spike in August, say Baker Mayfield, Lamar, Josh Allen, pick whatever trendy quarterback that you want. They go up 10 or 15% in August. I think there's real opportunity for it to reverse this year, where if those guys don't see spikes and whoever comes out and plays well, I think their stuff could significantly go up. But I think for the guys that get significant run between now and the start of the season, I think it could repeat last year. So I think the month of August is going to be very telling for what my mindset is on the football market once the season actually starts. Like, what do the prices do the next, I guess, 45 days now on specifically key quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thought. No, I'm really curious. I mean, obviously, it's all speculation, and like, yeah, I don't know what prices are going to do.
So, like, if Baker goes up 5% between now and the season and doesn't get that big run up like Lamar Jackson did last year, and the Browns come out and go 6-0 and he looks great, and Beckham's catching touchdowns and this, that, and the other thing, I feel like his prices are going to go nuts. You know?
I agree with that sentiment, and I'm just really chewing on it. I really do think that might be the way it goes. I mean, like, I bought when prices were low in early March before the spike. I bought a lot of Baker, and I don't even like Baker. Sorry. But I do think this is going to be the best year of his career. I don't mean even this far. I mean, when his career is done, this will be the best year of his career. And with that thought in mind, I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for these prices to go up. And they haven't really been going up. Obviously, they've actually come down since the draft. And so, yeah, if they don't go up in August, I'm not selling. I'm not going to do it. And so that means if he plays well, then that makes sense that they would potentially go up, kind of as we've seen in the past. And again, this whole everyone's smarter. You know, I've been talking about this for a while. If everyone's saying to sell in August, that means prices will be suppressed if people are trying to sell then. And so, you know, if everyone's saying to do this, then you could kind of expect the opposite. So if we expect at a high level, the whole hobby expects prices to go up in August and down in, you know, mid-September, you might expect the opposite because people would act in a way that, you know, would affect that.
Yeah, and you could sub out Baker for literally any player. But like last year, we saw everyone got massive run-ups in August, and then the second they don't live up to the massive expectations that get built into their prices fall fast.
Even
like,
if they
go
do
run a
live
Lamar
up.
Jackson chart last year or a Kyler Murray chart last year. Like, Kyler started the season strong. He had like a nice little 3-week trend, and then all of a sudden he became just semi-normal, and his stuff went down fast. Lamar's cratered fast. Baker's stuff went down fast because Baker started slow last year, and then he played much better the second half of the season. And Josh Allen got no hype leading into the season. People kind of forgot about him. And then all of a sudden, he looks like an MVP. And then his prices go to the moon because there wasn't all this baked in expectations with these huge price increases prior to anyone actually playing a real game. Yeah. So, and like I said, I think it could roll if we don't see the price increases in August. I think there's definitely opportunity to see massive price increases in season, but the key is they have to play well, obviously.
Yep, I agree with that. I mean, it's a great take, and I would just say to everyone, like, I'm really curious to see what happens over the next 3 months with football, and I would just say to everyone, stay open, stay flexible, and just kind of be cognizant of where prices are relative to the last year, right? You know, if they seem low relative to the last year, but it's a really special player, then maybe it's not the time to move, regardless of the timing.
Yeah, I agree. So you guys can check out Dakota's channel at Sports Cards Anonymous. This is going up Tuesday morning, so correct me if I'm wrong. You have the StarStock CEO on tonight, correct? What time does that go down for anyone watching this in the morning or throughout the day that may want to catch that?
Yeah, Mr. Scott Greenberg will be on at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. It's a live stream. And I think I'm getting known for having pretty interactive live streams, even when I have guests on. So if you've got questions for StarStock, you know, for their CEO, you know, come to the live stream, come check it out and be active. I do my best to get to, you know, all the questions and you know, try to ask what the chat's looking for. So.
And Dakota and I are huge fans of StarStock. We both talk about it often. Both have made tons of plays on there.
Good or bad, I don't know, but lots of plays.
Yes. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. And then you also had, just to shout out a couple of your other stuff, you had the My Slabs guys on Friday night. Is that correct?
I don't remember. I think it was Thursday night.
Friday night because you were at Dallas on Friday night. I think regardless, you had the My Slabs guys on last week for a similar situation. So if you guys are interested in checking out My Slabs, looking for some more information on them, that was a very interesting interview. He had a really good rant on Sunday morning. I would encourage you guys to go check that out. And you had your own Dallas video post what, Monday morning?
Yeah, my rant Sunday is kind of my thoughts on the Dallas show, which you kind of got here. But the rant goes in whatever. It's a good rant. I liked it. But Dallas, Monday, I show my pickups from the Dallas show, which was kind of interesting. Go check it out if you're interested.
So yeah, I will link to Dakota's channel in the description box down below if you don't already follow him. But go check him out at Sports Cards Anonymous. And are you the same on all your various social platforms if people want IG and all that stuff?
If you go to my channel, I have a link to my Twitter. You can check me out there.
Cool. That's all we have for you guys and girls. So we will catch you on the next one. My next guest, I'm having Sam from Women of the Hobby on to talk the Atlanta show. I was going to hopefully team these two up together, but it didn't work out scheduling wise. So Sam on the Talk Atlanta show and get that vibe and probably some Olympics talk. Sam definitely plays in the Olympic market a little bit. So we might dive into a little bit of Olympic talk. And I am efforting to potentially have Ryan from Breakout Cards on as well this week. So heavy guest week as he was at both shows. So he should have a very interesting perspective there. But we will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Go check out Sports Cards Anonymous' StarStock interview later tonight if you're watching this in the morning. And we will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.
Cheers.